Hello and welcome to the AI Summit London. My name is Max Smolaks, editor at AI Business, and it's my pleasure to welcome Matt Armstrong-Barnes, who's the chief technologist for AI at HPE.
Fantastic, thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for being here. And yes, so you just gave a session this morning, but first, can you tell us a little bit about what the chief technologist for AI does at HPE?
Yeah, sure. So one of the things that we do at HPE is we have a number of projects both internally within the company and also with our customers, delivering against the AI promise. So really what a chief technologist does is we cover the entirety of the HPE portfolio, because we're obviously in compute, storage, networking, the software componentry within artificial intelligence, and also the delivery of services for our AI engagements. So I work across that entire portfolio, pretty much exclusively on delivering AI projects with customers.
Yes, and there is an ongoing debate about whether you should build or buy, whether you should take a do-it-yourself approach to AI or you should just get some tools off the shelf, quickly install them and be happy. So how does a business choose the right approach, and what can HPE help them with? Because I know you have a lot of software products, but do you also have consultancy services?
We do, and I think one of the first things to think about when it comes to an AI project is you never get a second chance to make a first impression. So it is all about choosing the right use case, the right business problem that you can address when it comes to going on the AI journey. There are some very, very mature AI use cases that have been developed by industry that you can pick off the shelf and they can address your specific business challenge. There are other ones that potentially might have data that is specific to you and your specific challenges, or you might want to build them yourself so that you have differentiation against your competitors when it comes to utilizing that model. There is a hybrid where you can bring a model in that somebody else has constructed. In essence, think of it as chopping the end off it and adding your data to the end to tweak it specifically for your environment. The key thing is identification of the use case. What are you trying to achieve? And then either build an ecosystem of partners that you can work with to tackle that specific challenge, or engage with an organization like Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, where we already have an ecosystem of partners and can help you understand whether or not you're going to be best buying something, building something, or tweaking something that somebody else has already built.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. And you have written previously about an arms race in AI as applied to cybersecurity. So could you tell us a little bit more about what you mean by that?
Yeah, definitely. We're seeing, so what's AI great at? AI is great at spotting patterns and making predictions. What's cybersecurity? Implementing patterns. So what we're seeing is an increase in the volume of cybersecurity threats that are AI driven. Mm-hmm. And this comes in the form of, some of the common ones we're seeing are around spear phishing. So spear phishing is where you receive a very specific email to you based around something that you've done because it's highly targeted. Let's say, for example, I were to eat at a restaurant here at the AI Summit London, and I were to tweet about it, and then I were to go back to the office, and on Monday I would get an email from the restaurant telling me, we're really sorry we got your bill wrong. I open up the bill, and embedded in that is some AI-based polymorphic malware. And what that malware does is it infects my machine, it masquerades as me, and using AI, it doesn't do primitive things. It starts to look for more advanced data within my organization that it can then steal, all of which is done within the context of my credentials. So of course, if we have AI as the protagonist, we can also bring AI in as the defender. Mm-hmm. So in these scenarios where we have organizations where people are working, it's actually quite difficult for security administrators to understand what every person in the organization is doing. So, for example, what you can do is you can bring AI in and it will look at everybody in the organization and profile them. And that includes things like machines, such as printers or internet-connected TVs, which can also be compromised. And what the AI does is it looks for people operating outside the normal bands of their behavior. And as soon as they start doing suspicious activities, it can then alert systems administrators, security administrators, to look at those individuals and work out whether or not they've been compromised and take corrective action.
Mm-hmm. And that spear phishing example, is that something that is actually happening? Is this real? Because like that sounds very, very unpleasant if you get hit by something like that.
Yes, there was a piece of work done by an organisation called ZeroFox, who actually built an AI to do exactly that. And they challenged a journalist
Oh no.
to see who could get the most people to click on compromising links. So the journalist, this was back in 2016, chose InfoSec and Pokemon Go. And he compromised a specific number of people. It was quite, but he could generate about one tweet a minute, or they had quite a low number of tweets that he could generate, and he actually targeted quite a small number of people. The AI, on the other hand, targeted hundreds of people, sent hundreds of tweets, and actually had a significantly higher percentage of people who fell for the AI sending them information that could compromise them. So we are definitely seeing this. You can download that off GitHub, by the way, if you really wanted to. So we are seeing a rise in those type of attacks that are driven by AI. And of course, AIs don't get tired. They can operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, generating this compromising information to specifically target against individuals that is highly targeted to them based on a variety of input sources that it's gathering, meaning that the probability of it infecting organizations becomes much higher.
So every single benefit of AI can also be used by cyber criminals now. That is a scary thought.
There are some huge benefits with AI in terms of the democratization that's been happening, which is AI for everybody.
Yeah.
Trying to make this transformative technology, put it into the hands of everybody who can really get a benefit of it. Not just the large corporates, but the small, medium-sized enterprises can really start to get value. Unfortunately, by doing that, you give it to everybody. So everybody has this capability, including those people who would use it for nefarious means.
Okay, and to sort of like to sum up, like if you're designing a corporate strategy as regarding AI for the next 2 to 3 years, what things should you keep in mind?
So firstly, there's been quite a lot of research that says once you start on the AI journey, if you start on the AI journey ahead of your competitors, they will never close the gap. So the first thing is get started. But start against real business problems. Identify use cases that are going to give you real value. Make sure those use cases that are the ones that AI is going to fulfill. Because I speak to lots and lots of customers who've got this big hammer with the word artificial intelligence written on it, and they're desperately looking for nails. Make sure that you're using the right technology. AI needs to be in every organizational toolkit, but it is a tool to be used effectively. So start off with a real business problem, make sure that AI is the right solution to address that problem, and get moving. And start to bring in the type of technology that you need. Evaluate whether or not you can buy some of this technology already or whether or not you need to build it yourself, and build a strategy. Make sure that you include in your strategy key things like how you're going to scale the technology, how you tackle that's called the data scientist day 2 problems. Day 1 is building the model, day 2 is actually making use of it. So make sure that you build some scalability into your strategy. Make sure that you're going to run it on the right kind of infrastructure that can scale to your specific needs. And also think about where you're going to get the data from. So AI is a data-driven problem, tackling problems that people can't tackle, but data has a gravity. So make sure that you have the capability to deploy your AI workloads as close to the data that they're going to drive value from as they can.
Well, that certainly makes sense. Thank you very much. Matthew Armstrong-Barnes, Chief Technologist for AI at HP. It's a pleasure.
Fantastic, thank you.